It's that simple. Installing wool insulation in our conversion was as easy as this.
In today's video, I'm going to share the process we went through to learn about insulation.
It's mostly toxic through inhalation of vapors and dust during installation, and then also off-gassing.
Debunk myths and misconceptions that we had about sheep's wool.
Yeah, it's one of the very unique, powerful characteristics of wool.
I'm going to share how we prepared for this step in our bus conversion.
And the big finale, actually installing our Havelock wool insulation.
We'll include links to Havelock wool below. They're affiliate links, so at no cost to you. If you purchase Havelock wool for your home, your bus, or your van, we'll get a small commission that'll help us to keep our channel going.
We have finished putting in our last window, and we can finally start putting in our final layer of insulation into the bus before we seal it up with walls and ceiling. And it is just in time because it's starting to get cold. We need that insulation.
It's getting real cold. Throughout our bus build, we tried to stay true to the way that we live, which is more environmentally friendly, more working with natural materials whenever possible.
And I feel like for some products, there just isn't a good option for a bus build. But with insulation, there's a great non-toxic renewable option.
And these guys have it on right over here. You probably remember the video where we had a chance to talk with my sister-in-law about some insulation choices. Earlier this year, we shared a video where we talked with our sister-in-law, Megan, a sustainability administrator for a large engineering firm, to get an expert opinion on insulation for our bus.
There's one more environmental thing to look at in insulation. Some insulations contain CFCs, which is contributes to global warming potential. I really like the wool option. It makes sense, you know, it's an insulation for an animal, and it's, you know, all natural, regenerative. It seems to me a really good option.
What about all the sheep farts? Do those count against you?
Once we'd done our research, for us it was a no-brainer to go with sheep's wool. But insulation is still a hot topic in the bus community, and a lot of people seem to have a hard time moving away from the popular and common toxic options that there are on the market. So we thought we'd talk a little more to our friends at Havelock Wool today to help clear up some of the misconceptions about wool.
My name is Philip Walsh, and I run marketing for Havelock Wool. The company itself is about 7 years old. But yeah, super excited to be with you guys today.
When we first started researching insulation, spray foam was very popular. It was definitely the popular choice, and there were many arguments of non-toxic versus toxic insulation. And the big argument I kept seeing for sheep's wool was that people said, oh, you better put up a vapor barrier because that's gonna mold. And even though, you know, we thought we'll go with spray foam then, that sounds like the popular best choice. And then I was like, no, you know what, I'm gonna do some research on this for myself and figured out that's kind of a misconception. And I've seen on Havelock you talk about moisture management. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. We start with the premise that moisture is going to make its way into your walls. It's an inevitable thing. So you need an insulation that is going to respond to that and what we characterize as manage that moisture. Specifically, and this is really owed to the unique properties of the wool fiber, wool is able to absorb moisture and then release it as the environment around it changes. It can in fact absorb, I think, close to 30% of its weight in water. It's an incredibly unique dynamic fiber.
That was well articulated, thank you.
because it's a moving vehicle, there were a number of other factors to consider. Can you tell us some of the other benefits that you guys have found that wool really lends itself to?
So one of the big things about wool is that wool offers passive air filtration. What that means is wool has amino acids which bond with harmful chemicals in the environment. So wool, in that sense, can filter your air, especially in a small environment like a bus or a van. Wool will actually, as I said, irreversibly bond with those. A big one is formaldehyde. Nitrous dioxide also gets mentioned as well. So that passive air filtration is really pretty unique. The other thing that, frankly, I don't think we talk about enough, but is a huge part of wool insulation, the benefit, is the sound absorption. So wool absorbs sound really well. We tested it to get a noise reduction coefficient, scores very highly. It really does a great job of minimizing road noise. The other thing that people really appreciate is the ease of installation. It's a material that you don't have to worry about getting sick from putting your hands on and from using. It's a natural material. People really seem to have, a positive experience installing it without any of that stress about fiberglass or spray foam, what am I breathing in? The final thing, and I'll just mention high level, happy to get into details, and this is really one of the reasons why we started the company, is wool is a sustainable material. It's a healthy, all-natural, sustainable material. You're doing right by the planet by choosing this material. And again, for a lot of people, that's a huge priority. For some people, it's not, but it's it is a thing to be aware of when using wool insulation.
I've noticed that Havelock uses wool from sheep in New Zealand, even though it's a company based in the US. Why is that? Why not US sheep?
New Zealand so far is the only place where we can source the quantity, which is a lot, and the quality of the wool. The Kiwis in particular, they're the best in the world in terms of cleaning and scouring the wool. So when you put wool in your walls, it's really important that it's clean. You want 100% wool. You don't want 90% wool and 10% some other stuff. You want 100% wool. And so far, New Zealand's been the only place where we've been able to get that. We get this question a lot, and we would love it if we could source domestically. And we're always open to that idea. Up to this point, we just haven't been able to find that local source.
Maybe once we settle down, we'll start farming sheep, because it sounds like there's an opportunity right there.
There is. So along with the sheep, get the cleaning and scouring equipment, and you'll be good to go.
I'll see if Mel wants to handle the cleaning part. I can barely keep the kitchen countertops clean, so. When we'd previously done some research on insulation, we got a lot of people commenting on the internet who seem to be die-hard spray foam fans about higher R value. But from what I understand, you've actually spent time in a van that is insulated with wool. Can you tell me a little bit about your personal experience?
Yeah, it's amazing. There are very passionate views out there about insulation. As you guys know, you put something on YouTube or social media about insulation, and it's like, goodness. R value is kind of measured in a very specific environment, at a very specific temperature, at a very specific humidity level. And as we all know, especially you guys as you're building your bus, things don't stay static. So R value is important, but it's not the only way to measure insulation. Wool delivers a high R value. The end result is a comfortable environment. Our van, which is based out of Truckee, California, we're big into winter sports. We're out there in the cold all the time. It is very comfortable. We have an additional heating source, as most vans and buses do and should, and we've got good ventilation, as vans and buses should. Honestly, we've never really had an issue where we got too cold. On the other side, it also manages for heat very well. The only other thing I'll say is, we are about 10,000 van and bus projects deep now, and we're getting a lot of customer feedback. And we get customers all over, from northern Canada to Hawaii to Florida. So we've also got this customer feedback pointing to the superior performance of the insulation.
getting ready to actually do our installation of our sheep's wool, but we were watching videos to see how other people did it. People who were opening up their Havelock wool bags where they'd open it and go, this smells like a petting zoo.
If you do get what we like to describe as a pleasant barnyard smell, that will dissipate quickly. So, give it a day or two or something like that. The interesting thing here about wool is that you put it in your walls. Wool also helps absorb odors in your environment. The thing that we always suggest is you have some time and you get the bags, open them up, let them breathe for a little bit before you start installation.
Sounds like a plan.
Very good. Yeah, we'll try that. We'll open it for a couple days before.
If you have those bags of wool open and you've got a dog around, it will immediately turn into a dog bed. Like dogs just love that stuff. Just be forewarned.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to you on the report about cats if they enjoy it as well.
Yes, okay, good. Yeah, we haven't heard as much from cats. We've talked often about doing a calendar like the dogs and Havelock wool, but maybe we should also do the dogs and cats and Havelock wool.
Well, very good. I think
great.
that covers everything we kind of were thinking about.
Cool.
Great,
All
thanks
right,
for
guys,
spending
good
time
luck
with us.
everything. We'll talk soon.
All right,
Thanks.
take care.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
These are the steps we took to prepare our space for insulation.
The bats are 2 inches thick, but they've been compressed down, so you got 2 packages of bats shipped and shrunk wrapped kind of into one. So they're pretty smushed down, but the ends of some you can see about how thick it will be. So once we pull all the bats out, we've got them on the floor. We're gonna let them air out for 24 hours, 48 hours or so.
What do you think? It's just... Does it smell like a sheep? I guess it's still scary.
And now we're gonna do some testing as to how we are going to install it.
So a lot of people in vans will use strings to hold the wool up into place.
But the technique that we've settled on is to use little wooden planks.
Which we can just easily staple into our furring strips and hold it up.
Yeah, we'll put 2 or 3 head seats.
Yeah, it's nice and easy to tear it off. You can just make it the size you want just by ripping it with your hands. All right, I think we're ready for our next piece of wood.
Okay. We're using 3/4 inch brad nails. Looks like it's gonna work really well. I don't think these are gonna come out even over time with the vibration of the bus. And that's gonna keep it from sagging anywhere, because gravity is always gonna be making it come down. Looks good though, don't you think?
Yeah, looks great.
After we tried out a few methods and had a good plan in place, we were ready to install the wool.
Look how nice and thick it is now that it's expanded out. It's a good 2 inches there. Putting it up in the ceiling, you basically need something to just hold it there temporarily until your ceiling panels actually go in. I just kind of do a rough measurement and see how much I need. So probably gonna need up to about there. And then it's easy, you just tear it apart with your hands. And then I just start tucking it into all the corners underneath the furring strips. I do recommend some glasses because you do get little bits of wool falling down and you don't want that in your eyes, but so easy to work with. And then you can see it does start to slightly fall, so that's why we put our wood lats in, just to make sure the wool actually stays up.
These wood lats are very inexpensive. They're super easy to break. I did cut some with a saw at the beginning. Now it's just at the point where I'm putting my foot on it and snap it in half. When we get the lats to size, we're just kind of going above our furring strips. Then what we've decided to use is brad nails to secure them in place, because after we get our ceiling in, we don't want them to come loose in a moving vehicle and be flopping around making a bunch of noise in our ceiling.
When we have our wires for our lighting that need to hang down from the ceiling, it's pretty simple. You just have to make a hole in the wool for the wires to dangle down. There's an X that marks where the light goes, so all I do is I put my wool up, and then when it's in the space, I can kind of mark with my finger. I put my finger on here and make sure my finger's going onto where the X is. So now I know that's where I need my hole, so I just make a little hole like that, thread it through my wool, and then I'm ready for a lat to help hold the wool and the wire in its spot. Here it's going into all the little corners, behind all the furring strips, and it's time for Doc to do his magic.
Thing they don't tell you on the Havelock Wool website is that it makes a great cat bed.
Is this a good spot for a nap? Yeah, you're a good girl. Oh, I'm so hot. It was amazing to feel the temperature change as we started to install this wool. Ever since the cold winter weather started, with our little space heater in the bus, we couldn't get it higher than about 50 degrees Fahrenheit in here. And as we started installing the wool, we probably got about halfway, and it started to get really warm in here to the point we had to turn the heater off because we were sweating. Don't forget the cracks and crevices. It's quite fun actually to stuff them in.
We looked into a few methods as to how to secure our wool into our walls. And the one that was going to work the best for us is a method we made up. What we ended up doing is taking some wood lats, and then I put some Sikaflex on one side and stuck them up there, screwed them in to give them some extra support, and let them dry last night.
So I've trimmed my wool down to the right size, and then I just come up against this little wood lat here, fold the wool in, and then I use that other lat, the same size, to just kind of sandwich in the wool. And then we're gonna staple this up into here. Now you may be asking, why didn't we just use one piece of wood and just screw that into the beam? Well, we tried that. And it was a big failure because the wool actually just wraps around your screw. It doesn't work. Screws don't go through wool. But the staple does, no problem. And I just kind of tuck the corners in and they just kind of stay nice and snug, and then tear off at the bottom. that simple.
She's full of fun today.
Okay. Well, I gotta take my jacket off. Hot already. In smaller spaces like these, you can actually just kind of stuff it in and it just stays there. And of course, the walls are gonna go in here, so we don't worry about it falling around with, you know, the moving vehicle, because the wall's gonna be up against here to keep it still.
For our bus conversion, we got 3 bags of the compressed bats. Each of those is supposed to cover about 200 square feet.
So we still have some areas up here that we need to insulate. It's a little tricky to hold them up here. We don't have anything to attach our wood lats to. So we've still got some left over, and we will be using that to stuff these areas up here when we actually install our ceiling plank. So as soon as we put the plank in, we'll stuff the wool in and the plank will just hold it in place. We do also want to still insulate one of the luggage bays, because one of our luggage bays is going to be for our cats. They're going to be able to go down there, they'll have their litter box down there, so we want to make sure we control the temperature in there. This has been the easiest job we have done so far on the bus. And I don't know, to be able to just work with my bare hands, have the cat running around inside here at times, and it'd be okay. No toxic substances, no glues to get all over you. Yes, there's little bits of sheep's wool on us, but that'll come out nice and easy.
As for the big question about does it smell like a barn in here, you smell it faintly when you come in. It's even less the second day that we're in here than it was the first day we opened everything up. As for the cat test, one of our cats is scared of the wool, the other cats love it and want to snuggle in it. Overall, I'm really pleased with how it feels in here already, the easy use of working with it, but you do want to keep in mind that little wool particles are going to be falling and floating around in the room. If we had our choice, we would have wanted to do it in spring, summer, or fall, just so we could have some windows open and get a little ventilation going while we were doing it.
Big thank you to our friends over at Havelock Wool for collaborating with us today.
If you're going to be insulating your bus, van, tiny home, or regular old sticks and bricks house with wool, or you want to learn more about Havelock Wool, we'll include that link below in the description.
Reaching up to the ceiling is never fun on the neck,
Or back.
but it's looking so good.
Gloves, glasses, let's do it.
But we'll share that with you next time.
Or purchase any for your boat, houseboat, tiny home, RV, bus conversion, van, or tent in the description below.
And
2, 3.
I don't think we jumped, we just kind of bounced it.
2, 3. In this video, we're gonna
Wait, give it a beat.
Today's video, we're gonna share the process we went through. Are you gonna get mad because I didn't take a break? Ready? Good.
That was good.
It's about 32 degrees outside, but we're nice and warm because we're wearing our wool.